Serious people of Reddit that honestly believe they have been abducted by aliens, what was your experience like? U/Tarpsy_Kretz responded. My fiancé, boyfriend at the time, had just gotten home from work. He went into our kitchen, and I walked through the bedroom, and into the bathroom, and just stopped for a moment. I had a weird feeling, I still can't really put a name to it, so I called him and asked him to come here. I walked out of the bedroom, and as soon as we came within view of each other, that was it. The next thing we knew, we were both waking up, laying side by side on our bed, flat on our backs, on top of the blankets, and still fully dressed down to our shoes. 3 hours had gone by. It was so odd and disorienting, and though we had both just come to, we were extremely tired. We joked about the lost time at first, but the more we thought about it, the more weirded out we became about the whole ordeal. This isn't proof or anything, but LVE never been able to think of anything else it could have been. U/Modern Mountains responded. I was home alone in this little house I lived in the middle of nowhere. It was probably around 2 a.m., and I was just listening to music enjoying having the place to myself for a change, when all of a sudden my dogs started going crazy. Normally, when someone pulls in the driveway or comes up to the back door, they go to the door they heard the noise beyond and peek through the blinds to see who it is. But this night they are running all around the house from door to door barking louder than they ever do. When I stood up to go see what the hell they were on about, I noticed that the whole house seemed to be lit up with a deep blue light. Turning into the living room, it became obvious that it was emanating in from each window. I put on my shoes to go outside and see who was out there, but by the time I got out there the light had faded away. There was no sound of a car engine or really anything, and where I lived you could hear a car coming from a mile away. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I had the weirdest sense of fight or flight where neither option seemed viable, like I was frozen to the spot. I wanted to turn around and get back inside, and then, just was. Right back in the chair I was listening to music in. As if I just blinked and there I was. Don't really like telling people about it because it skeeves me out so bad. U/Bathorial responded. About 20 years ago, I was walking home from the shops with my dad, and we stopped to watch some really odd lights in the sky. There were 2 lights, slightly bigger than the stars zooming around and orbiting each other, making figure 8s etc. And then they stopped moving, got bigger and bigger until bright light filled the sky and then they were gone. We carried on our journey home. We hadn't stopped for more than 5 minutes. The whole journey should have been 20 minutes. When we got home, my mum was freaking out. We had been gone for 65 minutes. Our watches were both still working, but were 45 minutes behind every clock in the house. She had neighbors of friends out looking for us. I don't know what happened to us, or what we saw, maybe nothing. Edit. There was no search party organized. I worded myself badly. My mother simply had nearby neighbors and friends, who had lived on or near our route home checking to see if they had seen or could see us, because it was winter with freezing temperatures outside. It was a dark country road we were walking home along, and I was only 8 years old. We also didn't have mobile phones yet and weren't prone to day touring. U/Trudub responded. I live in a pretty secluded part of Washington state. I was in my late teens and my parents had gone to Seattle for something, so I was put in charge of the property. I was closing everything up, i.e. the barn we own and some other small utility buildings, when I look up and see 3 reddish-orange lights in a triangular formation. They were just floating there, as if they were magnified stars. So magnified, in fact, that everything was slightly illuminated by their warm hue. I'm mesmerized, standing there, and suddenly lose my sense of balance, as if the ground in front of me has begun rising, and I pass out. Next thing I know I'm on the ground in the barn I had locked up, according to my watch, half an hour before. Needless to say, I was petrified. I scurried to the house with my tail between my legs, scared and confused. I slept not at all that night and any sense of security I had was gone. Even though I was locked safely in my house, I felt hopelessly exposed. In hindsight, I think it's possible I was lightheaded, opened the barn door and fell down, but it still shakes me up thinking about it. U/Ravon 1958 responded. Might be too late, and I'm not sure I believe this to be what happened anymore, but I certainly believed it as a kid. When I was about 7, my parents and I briefly lived in an apartment in Chicago, next door to my dad's old house. For whatever reason, on this night we all slept on the living room floor, me in between my parents. Sometime in the middle of the night I woke up, and was entranced by an orange glow out one of the windows. We were on the 2nd floor. I wandered the 5 or 10 feet over to it, and looked out to see what I believed to be the house next door completely gone, and a spacecraft in its place over an empty lot. I remember just standing there staring at it in disbelief, feeling as though I couldn't move an inch. And it must have felt like I was there for ages, and then bam I woke up, back between my parents. So it was a dream. You'd think, Except immediately after waking up I rolled over and puked my brains out. I wasn't sick and I don't throw up unless there's a serious stomach virus going on, so it was for an undetermined reason. I won't sit here and claim I was actually abducted. As I got older I started to rationalize that I was probably just scared shitless by the dream, but I always do kind of wonder. Tanner East responded. Was at a friend's cabin one night with 5 to 6 friends. Was late at night and we were all hypnotized for about 15 to 20 minutes looking at these 3 dancing lights above the hill across the lake. Then a shooting star went across the sky and it lit everything up almost as bright as day. We all ran into the cabin. When looking back at it I get a strange feeling thinking of how we don't have much memories to recollect after we went inside. Deciding to just fall asleep right away instead of talking about what we just saw. Some of my friends' old friends get upset if I bring up what we saw, let alone our actions after. Rereading the title of the post, it's saying that people who honestly believe they have been abducted. I can't say I believe me or any of my friends were abducted. What I know is the details I mentioned. After seeing those lights I did lots of research on UFOs and stuff for the next few years. I did not think about being abducted then either, lol. Do I find it strange we all went to sleep quickly after we went inside? Yes I do. However there wasn't any overwhelming evidence that we got abducted. Could it have happened though? I have no idea, all I know is seeing those lights was an amazing experience. It really opened my eyes and mind to a much larger world than I saw before. The Big Lebowski responded. When I was 12, I was playing RuneScape on the computer while my mom and stepdad were out for the night. This was special for me, as I always had to get off the computer when they went to bed. I remember seeing a light throughout thin, white curtains and thinking that they had come home when they were supposed to be gone all night. I went outside and our driveway was empty. Turned out the light was coming from a huge, black triangle with 3 points of light that was hanging in the sky right above my house. I went inside to grab my parents' digital camera, but by the time I got back outside it wasn't there. I know that night happened, but has felt like a dream since the day after. Made me believe. Deleted responded. When I was 13 I was a chubby curly-haired goof, and I was excited for my birthday within the next week. I had been getting very little sleep due to a mixture of excitement for the giant cookie I requested as my birthday cake and school stress. Rubbish bullies really kept me up at night for a few nights, so this experience might be caused by a mix of sleep deprivation and night terrors. I have had night terrors semi-frequently my entire life. Anyway, I was getting ready to sleep and snuggled into bed when I realized the lights were still on, so I sit up in bed and peek at my window. My view was obstructed mostly by a blanket covering the window, and my bed was in the corner of the room, so L only had a small view of the window, and I lock eyes with a grey head covering my entire view and beyond the window. Next thing I know it was morning and I was tucked back into bed with my lights still on but my window was cracked open slightly. I told my parents about what happened at breakfast and they told me to stop lying for attention. I lost a little bit more sleep from the experience and got over it pretty quickly. It never happened again. Not too fascinating. I am a believer in aliens due to the size of the universe. However, I don't fully believe it was an alien I saw. A little bit of me wants to believe that it was an extraterrestrial. We had a big playground with a giant field not even 200 yards from our house we could walk to through the woods, so maybe it was an alien who parked his car and was just snooping around real quick. When I say car I mean spaceship. I'm not joking around giving an innuendo to illegal aliens. Deleted responded. I'm not sure if LD say I was abducted, but what happened was really weird. Was laying on my couch with a blanket over me and I look at the clock and it says like 11:23 a.m. or something. Suddenly a white flash happens and it's 12:40 p.m. It happens again 3 more times and by the time I could comprehend what was going on it was like 5:30 p.m. Every time it would happen, there would be like 15 minutes of confusion and trying to move. I was stuck in a dreamlike state until it stopped happening. Old AF. But rereading this I remembered that the only reason I said I was laying under a blanket is because at the very end, once I was able to stand up I was on top of it. Forgot my username damn responded. When I was 4 aliens came in through my bedroom window. I was terrified but I couldn't move. My sister was asleep in the bed next to me. The aliens had big heads and big black eyes. It was as if I was in a dream, but I was very much awake. I tried to cry out, but I couldn't make a sound. The aliens left and eventually, I was able to crawl into my parents' room. Completely freaked out I didn't talk for 24 hours. My mom was very protective and patient, for which I'm still extremely grateful. It wasn't until I was an adult, and heard people's description of sleep paralysis, that I had an explanation of what happened to me. Such a relief to understand that what I went through was not abnormal. In spite of this knowledge, a part of me still has trouble letting go of the hallucination that happened to me that night. It's never happened again. U/Mangaus responded. I was walking from my car going to a grocery store. I always park in the far back of the lot. My was of getting added exercise and to avoid the stress of looking for the perfect spot. There was no sound, it was a clearly visible, no exhaust, no lights, oblong object more round than oval disc with a flatter bottom than top. It had height, enough to fit four comfortably, moving so fast it seemed to just appear into my view. It stopped above the lot. No shaky camera action, clear as day. I could even make out the markings on it. It sat there, ominously for almost 3 minutes. I looked around for someone else, as if I needed this to be a shared experience. Sorry folks, back before the times of cell phones, no pictures or video. Then boom, 2 fighter jets appear, they move and slow next to the craft, all 3 shoot off in the direction of the coast. The markings was a black American flag and USA. I scurried back to my car and got out of there. The next day in the newspaper was an article about a test pilot going off course and crashing to his death with a request for information. If anyone saw anything to call a number and report it. I will never look at the missing person boards the same. So many went missing that year. I never called that number, nope, nope, nope. U/Lam_no_ghost responded. I'm shitty at writing things out, so be warned. I was 17 and just had an appendectomy the day before. Laying in bed at home late at night, this bright light woke me up. Unable to move, I watched as 3 of your classic big-headed grey-skinned, black-eyed aliens surrounded me. They spoke, but their mouths never moved. All but one spoke a language I couldn't understand. The one who did speak English kept telling me not to be afraid or scolding the others for frightening me. From what I recall, they were there either because something was wrong with my surgery, or they wanted to examine the wound. Either way, I watched and felt as one of them slid 3 super long fingers into my incision and prodded around in my abdomen, all the while chatting it up with the others. The pain was unbearable and I blacked out. When I woke up, they were gone. I was super weak and could barely move, let alone cry out for help, and simply blacked out again. When I finally woke up again, my incision was still sealed and bandaged with no trace of any meddling. I think it may have been a bad trip from the pain meds they had me on, to be honest, but even now 20+ years later it's still clear in my mind. U/deleted responded. Okay, so on March 24th, 2015 I walked out of my backyard, around 11 p.m, and I live in Boring, Oregon. So honestly, where I lived it was isolated. I felt like many times there's supposed to be something waiting for me in the backwoods every day. I felt like somebody wanted me to go in the woods and kept sending signals. Whether it was random sounds at night or small glares of light. I kept questioning, what the heck could it be that is so obnoxious? I always go there during the day and there is nothing but branches and trees. So 11:25L wanted to yell into the woods and ask to stop messing around, but it was difficult to. I was honestly frozen and I felt paralyzed. I tried to scream for help, but no words. I kept walking towards the woods and I felt something grabbed me by the arm and shoved me through the woods. Then I woke up and I thought it was a dream. I went outside, of course, and went where I was shoved, and for the first time in my life I see branches broken, and all the leaves on the ground were swept away from each other. I left around that month, and the house is still on sale at Century 21, and I plan to go see it this summer, and set up a paranormal crew, and wait out at night. I honestly think aliens took me and put me back to bed, as an experiment. U/Broovgrim responded. As far as I know, I never have been. My brother's friend and his mum seem like they have been, though. I say seem because they would never directly say they were abducted by aliens, because they are just not that kind of people. Simple, working class people, don't believe in paranormal stuff, kinda conservative, etc. But my brother's friend told my brother, when they were teenagers, how he saw really intense light coming through his bedroom window one night. A lot of different colors, blue, red, green, weird humming sounds. After this he only remembers waking up in the morning, feeling literally like he had run a marathon, completely exhausted. His mum backs it up because she claims to have seen lights that night, and on many occasions. That's all, though. He's in his late 30s now, and doesn't ever really talk about it, unless I pester him at a family party or something. It doesn't really fit in with his view of the world. He still won't say if it was an abduction or not, he just says he can't explain it. I do find the phenomenon very strange, because there are so many consistencies throughout so many stories from so many people all over the world. Although I'm unsure if it's an alien species or not, I'm convinced the experience itself is a real thing, at least to the people that experience it, although in what context I don't know. It may just be some kind of widespread hallucination with physical elements the human brain creates, for some reason we don't know. I think that's just as interesting as if it was actually abduction by aliens. U/Vice term responded. I woke up one night after a dream where I was traveling through space and planets toward this bright light. Once I got to the light, I had a loud bang or pop in my head. Woke up and my entire body was numb. The following day I go for a run and everything just makes sense. Every color in my life had a meaning. I recall suddenly understanding the rainbow as far as frequencies and temperature for the colors. During that run there is a gap I didn't remember, and suddenly am sitting on a curb with police in front of me and am only in my underwear. I get admitted to the hospital for psychosis, or a manic episode, and stay there for what felt like 3 days, but reality was 7. Everything that happened in my run was a hallucination supposedly, and I apparently stole a bike, sold my phone, and gave away my debit cards during it. I still don't know what happened and don't feel like who I used to be before this incident. U/deleted responded. My BF and I had a shared abduction dream in 2011. In the dream, we were taken up by flickering orbs of light about the size of softballs, which took us to the shore of Lake Michigan, then solidified into strange, slightly off reflections of ourselves which acted in a slightly off way. The woman pulled me aside and the man pulled him aside, then vice versa. They asked us a lot of questions about things like how happy we were in our lives and with each other, and at the end, they separately asked us both, "Do you want to be like us?" We were both separately very weirded out by them and by their weird, very undefined question, like us how, exactly. BF was angry at them, and I was nervously saying I just wanted to go back home. Then, they took us up again, brought us together, and announced that they had made a decision of some kind, and told us some things that were going to happen in our personal lives. These things came true over the next few years. Would rather not discuss personal stuff. The next morning, we both shot awake at the same time, and I said to him, I just had this crazy dream, and he said, I had a crazy one too, and we start comparing notes and realize we'd had the same dream. Just a few nights later, we found that there were reports in the local news of 2 flying orbs of light over Lake Michigan. We watched the video in awe. It was from the night we were taken and the area we were taken to. Freaked us right the hell out. I still don't understand WTF. U/moon_mama10 responded. Almost 6 years ago, I went to sleep one night and woke up on another planet, or maybe some kind of artificial habitat. It was like a forest, but LD never seen the plants before, and the small river that I saw was a purple color. What I believe was an alien came to me and told me about when we die our energy gets harvested and how life on Earth was not created by them, but they tweaked our planet to produce us. The way I understood it was that humans were essentially created to nurture and grow the energy that is life. I didn't understand how they use it or what it means to them. The being said that there are too many bodies and not enough soul to go around, so it's being spread thin, which is leading to people becoming more and more evil or something, and they said that they would have to do a culling, sparing a few million humans, which they mark with a few different masks. I all of a sudden woke up on my bed and immediately thought I just had a very vivid lucid dream, but my feet were dirty, and to this day I still have these 3 mysterious red dots that make a triangle on the back of my hand that I didn't have before that night. No one believes me that it wasn't just a dream. U/cyclone_Cupid responded. I wasn't abducted, but this was definitely something unexplainable. This winter me and my friend were sitting at a playground, just kinda looking up at the stars or something. It was really late at night, and while we were just sitting on the swings talking, I see this giant blue fireball looking object fall out of the sky. And it wasn't some small shooting star, or even a plane. It probably bigger than how big the moon looks at night. It was completely silent when it fell, so I assume it was far away. When I saw it I immediately was like WTF. And she didn't see it, so I had to explain to her what it looked like. But anyway, after we both went home, I tried looking it up to see if anyone else saw it, and no one did. U/Gavin_freedom responded. Similar to the other stories in this thread, I wasn't abducted, however we had something really weird happen at our house, which we can't explain. This is all happening at around midday in rural Australia. I was sitting in my room playing video games, my sister was in her room doing who knows what, and my mum was in the lounge room. I was really focusing on my game, when all of a sudden everything went black. I don't mean the lights went out. I mean that it was like I was staring into a pitch black room. This went on for around 5 seconds, at which point I blinked and everything was lit up again. I ran out of my room to the kitchen, as did my sister and mother. We all looked at each other and began describing the exact same thing. We went outside to see if maybe a plane had come over, or to see if the neighbors had seen anything. Nothing. In fact, there wasn't even a cloud in the sky. To this day, I'm still trying to figure out what happened. I've gone over it in my head, spoken to my mother and sister, and even bring it up on occasion when talking to people. I don't believe that aliens have visited Earth, and I highly doubt we all shared a mental break at the same time. Perhaps it was some weird electrical event, but to my knowledge nothing like this has ever happened. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one.